3. Written by the Reverend. Written by the. 80 years ago in 1945, a brand new book series was introduced titled The Railway Series, written by the Reverend Wilbert Awdry. These colorful little books would inspire generations to dive deeper into the world of Sodor, steam engines, and the railway they ran on, which is why I made a movie about how it all started. But how exactly would I capture it? Even if you are not a fan of the Railway series, you may have heard of stories or seen illustrations or seen the show. It is no secret that Thomas is now everywhere, but none of this would happen if it weren't for the home run success of the first book. So instead of celebrating the tank engine's success, I wanted a project that celebrated the original 3 characters, number 2, 3, and 4, otherwise known as Edward,
Hello, it's me.
Henry,
I'm not as fat as you.
and Gordon. But even more than that, I wanted to shed some light on the author himself, because while we are celebrating 80 years of the books, it's all thanks to him that it happened in the first place. So, research began. It soon set in why this task would be hard to make. While it's easy to convey actions and emotions using anthropomorphic steam engines, the same cannot be said for the human figures. So this means that if I wanted to make Awdry in the movie, I would need to learn a thing or two about acting, as I would take on this role myself. And since I didn't have the equipment to shoot anything larger than model trains, I was forced to sell my other kidney for some financial gains. After staring at the 6 figures in my bank account, I deemed it best to combine the live action scenes with the model sets. Now the question was, what part of his life would I capture? After a bit of general research, I found at the beginning of my complete collection book, there was actually a whole retelling of how it came to be. So this is what I gathered from it. Some of these I would add myself, the ones marked in insert color here, just to make the story flow a bit easier and for any ideas I had in mind. Finally, a script was ready. So anything Awdry related would be filmed in 2 sections total. One would focus on any material involving the smaller model sets, with a few smaller live action scenes, and later on I would film all the main live action scenes. So let's begin with the model stuff. The scene starts with a recreation of the supposed actual places where Awdry's father used to take him on walks. And many other locations will do the same in these little segments. This first chunk of footage has the camera move exclusively as if we were recounting memories. Seeing how Awdry would be 3 to 4 years old at the time, he'd probably remember these events happening but could not truly recall them. We see them wandering around as Awdry spots a truck with the letters NW on its side. Seeing how Awdry wouldn't remember the exact engine other than its color, the Railway series Percy makes a cameo here. We now jump a few years ahead to recreate the banking scene.
Stop! You're going the wrong way.
As many as you've pointed out, yes, this is inaccurate. Shut up. But I didn't have any great Western engines at the time, so the LMS had to do. There are no camera tricks here. The set was actually this steep, as you can see in most of these shots. The engines could not climb them at all, so they were pulled with a string or reversed back down, with the footage also reversed to sell the effect as if they were going forwards. Of course, the string would be cut out in post where I could. At the recommendation of an early viewer, I showed it to. I hope you like to sleep. Because I sure didn't, trying to make this effect. Countless hours. Well, not really wasted. I actually like this effect, so thanks. You're a real one. You know who you are. These were 2 different sets, roughly 6 feet apart, and the camera went on a track backwards towards the house. We cut to the first of many actual live action shots, And here, the original intention was for me to fully draw the curtains back to reveal the set. But since I didn't know if I could do that effect at the time, I made a backup plan where we see Audrey's reaction instead. You'd probably tell which one I liked better in the end. The Jinty here was not only a present from a good friend of mine, but also arrived a few days before I started filming. If the Jinty would not have arrived in time, I would have used one of my 040 tank engines, as I didn't have any realistic ones at the time. Audrey continues to observe the scene, and while he does, the sounds of the engines begin to sound like a conversation. Audrey smiles as he sees the two engines make it to the top. Now, another change was made here. Originally, there was a shot of the camera slowly zooming in and taking shape of the door. But this shot did not look good at all. So I made the FBI open the door instead. Audrey now enters the screen, wanting to play a match of Overcooked 2. How do I? And then it's over. Just kidding. This is where I dropped the lore of the rest of the Audrey bit. A whole 10 minutes or so-ish footage was scrapped, cause this was cringe. But for the sake of you all, you can see the early draft of the whole movie, including this 10-minute reel, up over there. Or down there. Yeah, let's do it. Audrey stares to the side as he spots someone else touching his non-existent layout.
Get your finger out. Further back, please.
He hangs up his hat and makes his way over to his desk, where he takes off his watch. Audrey, while settling down, greets his wife Margaret, voiced by the wonderful Danny Payne. And on another note, sorry this got cut, and please don't sue me for this, because I have absolutely nothing left after I made this movie. Anyways, Audrey and Margaret ask each other how their day was, and then eventually they end up talking about Christopher, still sick in bed. With the mueslis, Audrey places the watch suspiciously angled to the camera first attempt. Fun fact, the time on the watch tells the exact date that the Audrey extravaganza trip started for me. That's the story for another day. Audrey goes into Christopher's room after squeezing through what's in the way. To be more specific, a 1:76 scale replica of the Ellsbridge prop. He asks how his son is, which to Christopher replies with meh, and then proceeds to ask Audrey if there's a story that he could read him. Audrey is sure they have run out of new material, so he tries to come up with something original. Impossible in today's day and age. While he is thinking, outside, Sam Hale comes into view as before. And this section is one of the reasons why this whole bit was cancelled. While this idea, I think it would have been great, I did not film a chunk of it, and the visual effects were absolutely horrible. So, yeah, you know. This eventually gives him an idea. I'm gonna go grab some milk. Müller probably has that. He decides that he should make his own stories. So he makes a sketch of 3 engines in a shed before handing it over to his son. And while he starts telling the story, Christopher asks why one of them is sad, and what's his name. Audrey thinks for a little bit before he tells Christopher that A, the engine was not used in a while, B, what a stupid question, C, list ones that actually don't answer the question. Then, as the camera closes in on the 2P on Audrey's desk, we cut to the next chapter, which you may not realize at first, but it isn't actually real. However, that's another story.